Hello everyone, this is the second video for class ninth of first chapter, that is object oriented programming. Okay, so in this video I will discuss about some basic principles of object oriented programming language. Okay, so before starting the basic principles of OOPS, I want to give a brief description about some important terms which we have already discussed or known in class 8th. Okay, so the first term is object. So we all know that what is object. Object is a unique entity which contains data and functions together in an object oriented programming language. Okay, second one is real world object and software objects. Okay, so here now I am going to compare a real world object with software object. Okay, so what is real world object? So each real world object contains two things. The first one is characteristics and the second thing is behavior. Okay, so the meaning of characteristics is attribute or property. Okay, whereas if we talk about the behavior, so the meaning of behavior is the purpose of the object. Okay, so we all know that we have around us there are so many real world objects available like pen, table, computer, car, etc. Okay, so here just I am taking the example of pen. So the real world object pen contain two things. The first one is characteristics, means the company name of the pen, the color of pen, the height, the length, the breadth of the pen. So these all are the attributes or properties or characteristics of the pen object. Whereas what is the behavior of pen? It is used for writing purpose. Okay, so writing is the behavior of pen object. Okay. Second one is software object. So what is software object? Software object is created while writing the Java program. Okay. So whenever we compare the software object with real world object, in that case, the characteristics are referred to as data members. Okay. The meaning of data members are the variables which we are using in our program. Okay, so the variables are known as data members. Okay, whereas behavior of real world objects are compared with member methods of software object. Okay, so here we can see characteristics. If we talk about the software object, the meaning of characteristics is variables or data members, and whereas the meaning of a behavior is member methods or functions of software object. Okay, the next one is class. So we all know that class is a group of similar kind of objects. That means class can create multiple objects. Actually, the class is the object factory. Objects are created because of the class. Okay, so class is a blueprint or prototype of an object. So each object of a class possesses some attributes and common behavior defined in the class. So the meaning of this line is whenever we declare some variables and member methods within a class, so actually those data members and member methods will be used by the objects which are created by the class. Okay, so these are the some important terms which I want to discuss before starting the basic principles of OOPS. Okay, so now I am going to discuss the basic principles of object-oriented programming languages. So these are data abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, encapsulation. Okay. So the first one is data abstraction. So what is data abstraction? It is the act of representing the essential features without knowing the background details. Okay. So just understand the data abstraction by the help of real world example, that is car. Okay, so suppose that we have a car, and in order to drive it we are only aware of some essential external features of the car such as steering, clutch, brake, gears, etc. So have you ever thought what changes may take place in the engine while driving a car? How does the gearbox manage to change the speed of a car just by changing the gear? How the brake works? How the clutch works. Okay, so there are innumerable questions that come to our mind, but the answer is simply no. So that means we have to know only the essential features without knowing the background details. Okay, so same happens with object oriented programming languages, for example Java. So Java consists so many inbuilt or predefined classes, and those classes contain so many functions. Okay, so according to our requirement we use all the classes or functions in our program. Okay, without knowing the background details, background coding of those classes or functions. Okay, so that is the principle of object-oriented programming, that is data abstraction. Okay, that provides us the facility to simply use the the features of Java language or other object-oriented programming languages in our program without knowing the background details, background coding of those features. Okay. The next principle is inheritance. Okay, so it means to link and share some common properties of one class with the other class. So that means we can use some common properties, means some variables or methods. Okay, from one class into the another class. Okay, so that means it provides the facility of reusability. Okay, so that is the use of inheritance. It is, yeah, it provides the facility of reusability. Okay, next one is the class that inherited to another class is known as base class or superclass, whereas the class that inherits the base class is known as derived class or subclass. Okay, so now we can understand the inheritance by the help of one example. Okay, so here we have two classes. One is employee class and the other one is class debt. Okay, class employee is containing some properties or variables like name, salary, and age. For example, we need these variables in class depth also. Means we need name, salary, and age variables inside the class depth. Okay. So here now we can apply the inheritance. Okay. So in this case, we whenever we are going to apply the inheritance principle here, so no need to declare name, salary, and age variables inside the class depth. Okay. So how can we perform that? So here we can see one line is written here, that is class depth extends employee. So here extends is the keyword which is used for applying the inheritance principle. Okay, so whenever we use this line class depth extends employee, so that means we are inheriting employee class using the class depth. Okay, so that means class employee is the superclass and the class depth is the derived class. Okay, so here whenever we applied the inheritance, so we can simply use these variables name, salary, age in the class depth. Okay, so here no need to declare name, salary, and age in class depth. Okay, so that is the use of inheritance. That means we can reuse some variables in our program in different classes by the help of inheritance. Okay, the next principle is polymorphism. Okay, so polymorphism defines as the process of using a function or method for more than one purpose. Okay, so we know that a single word can have many meanings. Okay, so let us take an example of English word duck. Okay, so the word duck defines a water bird. Whenever we talk about the cricket, so duck means a batsman who got out with no score. Okay, so with the reference of this example we can notice that the same word duck is used for two different purposes. Okay, so with reference to object oriented programming, if the function name is volume, okay, so the name of function is volume. Okay, and we can calculate the volume of different geometrical solid figures such as of cube, cuboid, sphere, cylinder, etc. using different parameters, as in this example. We can see in this example the parameters are side, length, breadth, height, radius. So these are the parameters. Okay, so we can use the same method name for multiple purpose using the different parameter list. Okay, so if we talk about the parameters, so parameters are the variables, we can say, written inside these parentheses. Okay, so here volume side, so here side is the parameter. So in case of second volume, length, breadth and height, so these are the three parameters of this volume method. So here radius is the parameter of this volume method. Okay, so we can observe that one method name, that is volume. So we are using this volume for multiple purpose. Okay, we are using to calculate the volume of cube, the volume of cuboid, the volume of circle, using the same method name, that is volume. Okay, so that is the purpose of polymorphism. So polymorphism principle defines the process of using a function or method for more than one purpose. Okay, last principle of object oriented programming languages is encapsulation. Okay, so the meaning of encapsulation is, it is the system of wrapping data and functions into a single unit. Okay, so we all know that one of the feature of object oriented programming is to restrict the free flow of data from one object to another. The data and functions are wrapped together in an object in such a way that the data of a particular object can only be used in associated functions. Okay, so that means encapsulation is used to restrict free flow of data from one object to another. And in simple word, we can say encapsulation principle of object oriented programming is used to provide the protection or security to our data. Okay, we all know that data is important for us, so that's why encapsulation provides the protection and security by restrict free flow of data from one object to another. Okay, so that is the use of encapsulation. So these are the basic principles of object-oriented programming languages, which are data abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, and encapsulation. Okay, so this is the end of first chapter. Thanks to all.